Algebra for Sports Fans, Making Connections Between Sports and Math Concepts, Part 2. This is Ken Boyd, owner of St. Louis Test Preparation, our tutoring and test prep company. Our email and phone is listed below. You'll see our website at the end of the video. We're going on to the next step in our conversation, writing expressions. We defined expressions in the earlier video. Let's do it again. Expressions are used to compute rates, such as rate of speed. A product is an expression that uses multiplication. A quotient is a product that uses division. A quotient can be used to calculate miles per hour. That would be a rate of travel. Here's an example. If any of you have seen auto racing, in 1990, Arie Uhlendyk set the record for the fastest finishing time at the Indianapolis 500 auto race. We all see it on Memorial Day weekend. His time was an average of 186 miles per hour. And the question is, how long did it take him to finish the 500-mile race? What was his time? And again, we are writing an expression, and the basic formula for rate is rate equals the distance you've traveled in the numerator divided by time in the denominator. In this case, 186 miles per hour, our rate, equals 500, the distance, divided by x, the time, which is what we're trying to figure out. Specifically, x equals the time to finish the race in hours. So let's solve for x. Let's multiply both sides by x. We get 500 on the right-hand side of the equation. Let's divide both sides by 186, and what we end up with at the bottom of the page is 2.69 hours. What did we figure out? How long it took him to finish the race. Different example. How about average points per game? If you're a basketball fan, you may be familiar with this one. An open sentence is an equation that contains one or more variables. You learned earlier that a variable is a letter used to represent one or more numbers. Assume our equation contains one variable. If the number we enter into the variable makes the statement true, then that number is a solution of the equation. Okay, it's our answer if it makes it true. At the bottom of the page, here's our next example. Michael Jordan holds the NBA record for highest scoring average in the NBA playoffs. Jordan averaged 33.4 points per game in 179 career playoff games. How is his average points per game calculated? How do they figure that out? Top of the page, Jordan has played the first 10 games of the season. He's averaged 16 points per game. He has scored 160 points. 10 games times 16 points equals 160. Over the first 20 games, with the next 20 games, Jordan's coach would like him to average 25 points per game. Jordan will need to score 500 total points in the first 20 games. The question is, now that some of the games have already taken place, how many points would Jordan have to score in the next 10 games to average 25 points over the first 20? So some of the games have already happened. He needs to catch up. He's behind on his scoring average. How much more does he need to score going forward? So we set up an equation with some variables. Points per game in the first 10 games plus points per game in the second 10 games equals total points. We already know he scored 160, so that's 160, plus X. How many points does he have to score in the second 10 games to get to 500? Since he was behind on his scoring average in the first 10 games, we know he's got to score a lot more in the second 10. So we solve for x, we subtract 160 from each side, and we end up with x equals 340. Since 340 makes the sentence true, it's a solution. We take the points 340 divided by the games 10. We get 34 points per game is needed over the next 10 games to meet his scoring average goal. Problem solving using models. You will hear teachers talking about models, ways to set up problems to solve them. To translate phrases into algebra, look for words that indicate operation. We used these in the first video. For example, 4 times is expressed as 4x. You're considering 2 rivers for a summer rafting trip, each in different parts of the country. In order to plan for food and lodging, you need to know the length in miles of each river. Your research indicates that the Colorado River is 3 times the length of the Connecticut River, plus 229 miles. What equation would you use to model this situation? In other words, what equation would give you the length of the Colorado River, knowing how it compares with the Connecticut River? Well, if you assume R is what you're trying to find out, the variable, the length of the Connecticut River, we know that 3R plus 229 is going to be the length of the Colorado. And we check the internet and find out the Colorado River is 407 miles long. We plug in 407 for R, and we get 3 times 407 plus 229, 1,450 miles long. Now you know how long the river is, and you can plan food and lodging for your trip. That's the end of part 2 of our video. You'll find part 3 on YouTube. Our website for live tutoring, online tutoring, and live chat training, www.stltest.com. Our phone number and email are listed. And thanks.